How's it going, Beyond the Benches Nation, and more specifically, Dolphin fans? So, that is how the Miami Dolphins welcome football back to us. First of all, probably the entire state of Florida, for all you Florida football fans out there, is struggling today. Jameis Winston throwing 2 pick-6s, costing you the game. People calling for his head. Jaguars, newly highly paid quarterback coming over from the Eagles, Nick Foles, goes out with an injury. He probably will miss some extended time. And the Dolphins get absolutely annihilated, 59-10. I believe it was 42-10 at halftime. One lone touchdown, Ryan Fitzpatrick to Preston Williams in the back of the end zone towards the end of the first half. One field goal, an interception for Fitzpatrick, an interception for Josh Rosen. Gave up over 600 yards of offense. Gave up, over 7 touchdowns in this game. 5 passing touchdowns to Lamar Jackson. Couldn't tackle nobody. Couldn't block nobody. Couldn't get pressure on Lamar Jackson. Couldn't cover. Receivers looked fine. I mean, that was just... it was ugly, and it was everything the Dolphin fans could have feared this season was going to bring, and much, much more. And, I felt like this game could even get a little bit ugly. I just didn't think Miami was going to win, because you talk about a team that really is kind of that bully mentality, strong defense, good running game, has given Dolphins problems for years now. It just seems like we always get destroyed by the Ravens because I think it's just a bad matchup. Then you have a Dolphins coaching staff that's never coached before. Brian Flores and his coordinators, they've never done this before. And then on top of all that, you bring in 25% of your roster, 13 new players, brand spanking new this week. They were talking about how some of them had to introduce themselves to Fitzpatrick on Friday. This team is, just really lost right now with all the changes over the past 2 weeks. So it's no surprise, really, the score. It felt like you're watching the game, but afterwards you're like, yeah, it really makes sense. And right now, this team just is not there. And unfortunately, I'm heading to the game next week. I hope they can figure this out in 1 week, although I feel like it's going to take longer because you just need these guys to get some kind of chemistry going. There were so many changes over the offseason. Each and every week, it just felt like another move was coming that I just don't think these guys had any time to truly build some kind of team atmosphere. And when they said that they were rebuilding from the ground up, they meant everything, because right now this team can't do anything. They don't know what they're doing. The coaching system hasn't clicked just yet. The coaching's not there probably as well. They can't tackle, they can't cover. The special teams look terrible. Every single aspect was bad. When they said from the ground up, they meant it, because right now this team can't do anything. And so, a couple of the positives from this game, again, would have been Preston Williams. Fitzpatrick actually looked decent. He had a couple of Fitzpatrick throws, but he is what he is at this point. You know what you're going to get. I thought the running backs made a good attempt for the O-line. But, the negatives, of course, were the offensive line, and we saw this coming. Only gave up 3 sacks, which is not necessarily terrible, but they gave up 12 pressures. So that means on 15 pass plays, the quarterback was either pressured or sacked. As bad as we would have feared. And then, to me, surprisingly, though, was just this defense. And, Xavier Howard kind of stood up. They only threw the ball his way one time, and he nearly intercepted it. But everybody else was there for the pickings, including my man Minkah Fitzpatrick, which was really disappointing. And hopefully, I don't know why he's kind of seemed to take a step back so far this year in the preseason and now week 1, but hopefully he really can figure it out. Because some of these guys, and Eric Rowe and Jamal Wiltz, who also got picked on and didn't look good in this game, they're not really essential to the Dolphins' long-term future. Like, if they play well this year, they may come back or whatever, but if they don't, they're just going to get cut, and the Dolphins don't really have a lot invested in those guys. Minkah Fitzpatrick is not the case. Obviously, a former first-round pick. There's a lot. He needs to be one of these blue-chip players that you can help build around, another piece in this, rebuilding effort. So, I really want to see him take his game up and step up and try and become a big piece for this Dolphins team, no doubt. So, again, going back to just everything I mentioned earlier, though, I do think this game, as ugly as it was was a little bit of an anomaly. Before Dolphin fans completely jump off the ship, let's take a deep breath. I want to point out a couple of examples. The past 2 years, the Jets and Bills, of course in our own division, were favorites to get the number 1 pick or right there, like with the top 2 or 3 teams. Both got annihilated the first week. The Bills last year by the Ravens, I think they lost like 48-3. And both times those teams went on to finish 5-11. And what happened is the first week came, they got blown out. Everybody's like, see, that's the worst team in the league. And then they kind of figured things out. And, even though they never became a great team, just by kind of, players getting more accommodated to the system, being competitive in some more games, the schedule getting easier, they were able to scratch out a few wins. So I still think the Dolphins absolutely can do that. I'm not changing my record prediction for this team of 4 or 5 wins. I think they'll get out there. I don't think this is going to be a historically bad team. Again, you just have a team that wasn't a good matchup for the Ravens to begin with. Coaching staff coaching for the first time ever, and so many new players. I just thought it was a bad scenario that the Dolphins found themselves in, and hopefully it gets better from here. But, it's also funny to see some of the Dolphin fans freaking out, who were the exact same ones who wanted this team to tank and rebuild and go all in for, Tua or whatever player, and yet then they freak out when the team gets blown out like this. Well, what'd you expect? So of course and then the other fan base is, and rightfully so, angry. It's one thing to say that you're rebuilding and you have all these draft picks. You have a tillion draft picks over the next 2 years. Literally, it's crazy, and all these resources, and it's about the long-term game. That's fine, but you have to be competitive, and that's going to be on the coaching staff this year. That's going to be on the players. You can't do that. It's one thing to lose. You cannot go out there each and every week for the rest of the season and look like that. It's unexcusable, and if it happens, you might as well just fire everybody and get rid of half the roster and really make this a rebuild. And I know that's harsh to put on a coaching staff for 1 year. Again, I'm not talking about wins. I'm talking about just go out there and look competitive, devise a game plan to put your players in the best situation possible. You still have, Albert Wilson and Kenyon Drake and, Howard and Jerome Baker and hopefully Minkah Fitzpatrick, as I mentioned. You still have talent on this team. And so you got to look better than that, just simply put. And, you have to give the fans something to be invested in and hopeful for the future because, yeah, you can sell us on all these draft picks, but if you have literally nothing good going on, it's not going to matter because you've dug yourself too much of a hole. So hopefully this team improves a lot throughout the year. But, it is what it is. This team went under a rebuilding project over the offseason. And that's the product getting put on the field. And you can call it tanking for whoever or, just the current situation of the team. But it is definitely, it was a shot to the gut to open up week 1 and just killed any expectations, any sign of hope maybe Dolphin fans had coming in this year. And maybe they can get it back. But it's hard to feel great about the team after that, that's for sure. And, like I said, you just have to simply improve and get better. And, in every level. And right now, I understand they can't necessarily add new talent, but that's the important thing. How do you look next week with the Patriots, right? I'm not expecting you to win at all, right? But I'm going to this game especially because of that. But you know what I mean? Can you be competitive? Can you hang in there? Can you put up a fight? Because that's going to be the number one, sign, I think, after this week. And can you just continue to get better each and every week? Yesterday was rock bottom. All we can do now is pick ourselves up and rebuild. It's what it's called. We are down here. Right now, we are the worst team in the NFL. That's how we looked week 1. Can we rebuild, eat better each and every week, then head into this offseason with all these draft picks and all this money, but more importantly, actually feeling by the end of the year, you know what, yeah, we lost a lot of games, but we got some young pieces. This coaching staff kind of figured it out. We could be good. So that's what you have to get. Miami Dolphins fans, it could be a rough year. It definitely looked that way week 1, but let's hang in there, man. I'm going to give it a few more weeks before I officially just jump off the wagon and give up on this year. I'm going to be hopeful that they can still scratch out wins, look competitive, improve, and get better. Ryan Fitzpatrick, by the way, needs to stay starting. Josh Rosen went out there, threw a pick on the second game. We need you to be better, man, because you're the young quarterback. You're one of those guys who could help turn this around. So we'll deal with you next time we see you. But let me know what you guys thought about that week 1 performance. It was ugly, but hey, hopefully it gets better from here, guys. Football's back, I guess. Go Dolphins.